I made a mistake in the previous video. While I was reading Ryuji's rage before he accidentally found out the true keyword, I read, it could just be somewhere he read about online or something, but I forgot to include the somewhere. I apologize for that, but minor mistake. Let's continue on. We can start with distortions we've encountered already, just in case, Morgana said. He hopped off the table and moved to Futaba's lap, leaning close to the phone. Futaba began, almost unconsciously, to stroke him. Aww. A castle, a museum, a bank, a tomb, a space station, a casino, a ship, a prison, a health research facility, a castle, another castle. Conditions have not been met. The youth of today often labor under harsh judgment, Yusuke said. Perhaps a courthouse. Conditions have not been met. Makoto rubbed her chin. You might be onto something, Yusuke. Maybe we should try to think of distortions that would affect most people his age. The future doesn't exactly look bright for many of them. It's a little morbid, but you have a point, An said. A wasteland? Conditions have not been met. A desert? Conditions have not been met. I don't believe distortions necessarily have to be negative, said Haru. So long as there is something that's warped the target's perspective. Maybe an amusement park? Destinyland comes to mind. Conditions have not been met. I doubted the theme park like Alton Towers or Fort Park or Disneyland or Universal Studios or Warner Brothers Studios would cause something like that. No, wait, Warner Brothers isn't a theme park, it's an animation studio. A movie studio, to be exact. Haru sighed. Worth a try. A stage. Why not? Said Futaba. She shrugged at their puzzled faces. Miss Kawakami's been teaching Shakespeare. Conditions have not been met. They all stared. Dude, I think we made it mad, Ryuji said. The Menonav's latest projection had almost blown out the phone speakers. Oh, I wonder why that was. What was the Menonav actually doing? Was it trying to do Shakespeare like Futaba suggested? Alas, poor Yorick. Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? Thou art a villain. Villain am I none. Out! Out, damned spot! Alas, poor Yorick. To be or not to be? Okay, sorry, that was a bad Shakespeare impression. I've actually, when I was doing school, we did some research into Shakespeare as well, like with Romeo and Juliet. At one point I remember that we went to go and see White Rock Theatre in Hastings to see Romeo and Juliet on stage. We also saw Aladdin and Jack and the Beanstalk. We should stop, Akechi said. I just realized we're playing with fire already. If Shimizu's palace takes up the whole world, then even if we did guess his last keyword, we'd instantly be transported there. And that would turn out very badly. Not to mention that the Menonav isn't even supposed to exist, Makoto said. If we overtax it, then it might disappear completely. That would certainly explain whatever happened just now. The only thing to do is investigate further. Morgana tried to squirm away from Futaba's fingers scratching under his chin. This target's unlike any we've encountered before. All of them had at least some degree of public image. Shimizu was just an ordinary civilian. Investigating him further won't be easy. Maybe we should visit him in the hospital, Makoto said. Makoto shook her head. Oh my god, I'm losing it. Unlikely. Hospitals have cracked down hard on visiting hours. Probably because they're terrified of anyone leaking paranoia syndrome's more alarming responses. I could ask around at Kosei, but I doubt I would find much success, Yusuke said apologetically. Shimizu would have just finished his first year of schooling, whereas I am a third year. His peers may be reluctant to speak with me, assuming they remember him at all. That leaves his home. Haru tugged worriedly at her collar. Futaba said his mother works freelance, so she'd probably be around. But how on earth could we ask her something like that? We need an alibi. Makoto, could your sister help? Sai's no longer affiliated with the SIU. Even if she were, she'd be pushing her luck, just like she did with Boss last year. And if we just claim to be his friends or classmates or something, I feel like we'd quickly find ourselves faced with questions we wouldn't know how to answer. We would need someone who could pose as one of the authorities, acting like it's part of a formal investigation. Slowly, all heads swiveled to Akechi. What little remained of his composure crumbled like a cookie under the weight of those stares. You cannot be serious, he croaked. He's perfect, was Futaba's verdict. I'm a wanted fugitive, for God's sake! Your crimes aren't known to the majority of the populace, said Makoto. You might have dropped off the face of the earth, but the police stayed quiet about your disappearance. They didn't want to humiliate themselves. After all, they'd lent all that power and publicity to a high school student who never solved an actual crime in his life. They didn't need that sort of embarrassment on top of the fallout from the Shido conspiracy. That should give you more than enough leeway to tell a convincing lie. Her eyebrow arched. You're good at those, I believe. Can he at least get some time in the bathhouse first? Haru suggested. Let him get clean. I still have not consented to... Whoa there, detective. Ryuji's grin could have been immortalized in song and story. You can't puss out on us now. Remember? You want to hang with the Phantom Thieves, you gotta pull your weight. At that, Akechi's panic seemed to subside. He stared thoughtfully at Ryuji, whose grin wilted a bit about the edges. Very well, he said. But I think I will require a disguise for the trip. Something to conceal my jacket and tie as before. I can hardly ask you all to escort me everywhere. Good point, said Morgana. It'd look even more suspicious if you went all the way to Bunkyo with all of us. Exactly. So I just have to cover up. He pointed at Ryuji. That sweatshirt would do. The hell? Ryuji clutched at his violently violet hoodie. Not a chance! I love this thing! We're about the same size, and the colors are so garish that onlookers are more likely to pay attention to the garment than to the person wearing it. Akechi's voice was innocuous. I believe, Sakamoto, that with your assistance this investigation should be simple. A piece of cake. Whoa! Futaba held up her hands. Mona, your fur stood on end all of a sudden. Are you cold? Fine. Make your damn point, fine. Ryuji stood and rustled off his sweatshirt and shoved it in Akechi's lap. In the same movement, he bent down low, so that their foreheads nearly touched. His glare could have etched concrete. I hate you, he whispered. I know, Akechi replied. I'm gonna get a drink, quickly. I'll keep this running. Just that throughout recording this, well, I've, haven't really made preparations before starting this. But, not to worry. In midsummer heat like this, it's a very good idea to drink lots of water. I've been drinking less cola this week. I've only had about a can of Coca-Cola Vanilla and a can of Dr. Pepper Vanilla Float and a bottle of 7-Up. Free, with no sugar. Those are the only drinks I've had. Other than that, I've been drinking orange juice more often, and I'm drinking water now. A good thing to do during summer is to put ice cubes into a glass and then fill it with water, and then that feels much better. Sounds like you've been busy, said Sojiro. He'd been waiting behind the counter as Akechi slunk downstairs, briefcase in hand, the hood of Rigi's sweatshirt pulled up. He shrank in on himself at the sound, like a child who'd been caught up past their bedtime. But Sojiro wasn't even looking at him. He eyed some anonymous patch on the bar top, a cigarette between his fingers. I shouldn't be doing this inside, he said, gesturing with his cigarette. A thin ribbon of smoke trailed away into the air. Ruins the flavor of everything. But that's not much of a priority these days. We're making progress, Akechi said. I'm only wearing this because I needed a disguise. I know. Got in a little while ago. Akechi opened his mouth and he waved his hand again. Don't bother. I wouldn't understand half of it anyway. You remember when the bathhouse is? Yes. I've gotten quite familiar with this area, in a way. Good. Leave the briefcase. Take that instead. Akechi followed his pointing finger. On one of the tables was a bathroom bag loaded up with basic toiletries. Soap, shampoo, toothpaste and brush, a towel, a washcloth. He stared at it all as if unable to discern its purpose. Figured you'd want to wash up anyway, so that works out. Most of the people who go to that place are older than the hills, so they probably wouldn't recognize you even if you got up right in their wrinkly faces. But I'd keep a washcloth or something over your head just in case. Make it quick, and bring all that back when you're done. Akechi stood there for a little while longer. Then he set his case down in the booth, making sure that A wasn't visible. His hand shook a bit as he took the bag and headed for the door. Sojiro said, About what you said earlier. With Wakaba. Akechi froze. I don't give a damn what she thought about me. That woman always believed what she wanted. It's one of the things I loved about her. Would it mean anything if I apologized? Sojiro glanced over. Akechi stood with his back to him. His words had been quiet and hurried. That vivid purple hoodie made the whole scene almost surreal. An absurd farce. What do you think? Sojiro asked. Right. If you want to atone, do it with your actions. He blew smoke. Seems like you've made a decent start. He left without speaking further. The bathhouse was empty. Akechi ran the water until it was scalding and washed quickly. The steam turned everything into a silhouette of itself, the world gone out of focus. When he stepped out of the tub, the water ran off him in ashy gray trickles, and he stood mesmerized by its course onto the tile. A year of accumulated filth, puddling at his feet. Good night, everyone.